everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I am your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. There's been a whole lot happening in mine and a whole lot happening in the housewives world. So let's get into it. So I got to tell you guys about the two finds that I have found in the last 10 days that have literally changed my life, and I'm so excited about them. So the first one being just yesterday, you guys, I had to take Mike to the airport early, right? And on the way back, for some reason, I decided I wanted to go to a Ross. There's a Ross around the corner from this new house. I know you guys remember me telling you about the new couch I got a couple weeks ago, that beautiful blush couch that I'm so excited about. Well, since I got the couch, I'd been looking for the perfect area rug, right? I've looked everywhere, online, in every home goods store, and I just haven't found the one. But I walked into this Ross yesterday, right? And really, I went into Ross just to get some socks. But all of a sudden, this area rug catches my eye. And for some reason, I just feel pulled to this area rug. So I walk over there, you guys, and come to find out it is the exact size I've been looking for, the exact plushness I've been looking for, the exact design, the exact color scheme. And then, you guys, I go and look. And now, mind you, every carpet that I've looked at online and everywhere else has been at least $300, right? I look at the price on this thing, you guys. It is $104.99. Amazing. I could not even believe that. I mean, where can you even find a beautiful area rug for that price? You can't. It never happens. And it was perfect. It was just so perfect. So I'm thinking I have to have this area rug, but I'm also realizing that I'm completely alone and I don't have any help carrying it or anything. So I go up to the gal at the checkout and say, I really want that area rug over there, but I don't know how to get it in my car. I'm not sure how I'm going to get it in my house. And she goes, well, our security guy can load it into your car for you if you pull your car up. So I'm like, great, but I have a small car and I'm thinking there's no way this is going to fit. And it didn't fit, but we got it in the car, you guys. It was hanging out by like this much. It looked like a cigarette or something sticking out of my car, but I got it home. Luckily, I don't live far, but you should have seen me wrestling this thing inside of the house. Little 5'2" me carrying this huge 8-foot dense, heavy carpet into the house. But let me tell you guys, it was worth every bit of the effort because that carpet literally looks like it was made for that room. I could not have designed it any better. It is absolutely perfect. The fact that it was $104.99 is the most amazing part. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe any of it. I keep walking past it, and every time I look at it, I'm like, still can't believe that really happened. It is so good. I will be putting some pictures of it on my social media. I promise. Keep your eyes peeled. Here's the other gem that I found. So not this last weekend, but the one before, my girlfriend Steph came down for a visit, right? And Steph is a single lady and she wanted to go out on Saturday night. So I took her to Larsen's Steakhouse because they always say, right, that that's where you're supposed to find handsome, eligible men. So I thought I would take her to Larsen's in Encino, which happens to be exactly where I saw Mauricio that time. Remember the story I told you about how I looked behind me and Mauricio was coming up on the escalator? That's where he was going. So I figured I would take Steph there. So we go to Larsen's. I try an espresso martini for the first time in my life because Steph's constantly raving about them. And truthfully, I wasn't that impressed. But here's what did impress me, you guys. I ordered the French dip sandwich. And let me just tell you, it was the best French dip sandwich that I have ever had. And I have had a lot of French dip sandwiches. I would even kind of consider myself a French dip connoisseur because I just love them so much. But no French dip sandwich has been better than the one that I had at Larsen's in Encino. And I will tell you, it was so good that I took Mike back just a couple days ago. So here's the key. You get the French dip sliders on the happy hour menu, and they are $16, you guys. $16 for the most epic sandwich you will ever have. So if you have a Larsen's near you, make sure you get in there and try it because it is chef's kiss. Here's what else really impressed me this week. I read an article this morning that was talking about the fact that that birthday greeting that Prince Harry got from the palace and from his brother really came because of Kate Middleton. As everybody knows, Kate Middleton has battled cancer lately. She just finished her chemotherapy and released a statement. And in that statement, she was talking about how going through this experience has really changed her perspective on life. And I really think that she is the driving force behind that olive branch. And I just think it is so wonderful. I think it's wonderful for their family. I think it's wonderful modeling for her kids to see. And I also think it's wonderful modeling for her entire country to see, because shouldn't we be rooting ourselves in love and grounding ourselves in gratitude instead of grounding ourselves in grudges, right? Because grudges just keep us stuck. So it's so wonderful that she is extending that olive branch. It makes me happy for Harry. It makes me happy for their family. And I honestly just think it's a wonderful example for the world to see. Very unlike the example that Jax Taylor is constantly setting. So as I'm sure you've heard, Jax decided to save himself some money and do his own divorce filing, which I just don't understand. I don't understand how you can be a producer of a show, you can have a home, you can have a child, you can have be a business partner and not use an attorney when you file for a divorce. It just seems absolutely ludicrous. But that's exactly what he did, and he had all of the wrong dates on there. He somehow gave up full custody of his kid by his own screw-ups in the filing. So as it stands now, Jax has a new attorney, and apparently as of this morning, he was refiling. So he also went on to say that him and Tom Sandoval now are very close. They spend lots of time together, and that he never saw that coming. But through his, what should we call it, rehab stint or his mental health facility stay, he said that Tom Sandoval was the one that reached out to him the most. He also went on to say that he thinks that Tom has PTSD because of Sandoval, which, may or may not be true. And I doubt that Jax Taylor should be the one diagnosing anyone. Speaking of screwed up situations, Brandi Glanville was recently dropped by her attorneys, which are the same attorneys that are still representing Leah McSweeney in her case against Andy. And the whole thing is just so confusing to me, because I get that the suit that Brandi brought against Bravo for that inappropriate call that Andy made and stuff like that, that didn't seem to have any legs to me. So I understand that getting dismissed, but I still think that Brandi has a case against Bravo. I think it's a different case though. I think that there's some way that Brandi could hold Bravo liable for withholding evidence that could have exonerated her, right? Because they're the ones that put her in that predicament that, as she says, ruined her life, right? Brandi says that she was only following the boss's orders, and then following the boss's orders got her in trouble. But if the boss has evidence that you didn't do those things, then it would feel like somehow they were impeding justice. So I feel like maybe Brandi has a case in that regard. But that other suit that she was putting forward was bogus. The whole Leah McSweeney thing is just so ridiculous to me, and I can't believe they're moving forward with that. And this whole thing about them going into Andy's DMs seems completely illegal to me. I don't understand in any way, shape, or form how that is legal. That just seems absolutely preposterous to me. I mean, let me just explain something to you. There was a time in my life where I couldn't get out of bed without an Oxycontin and a Percocet. I was so extremely addicted to those pills. It was ridiculous. But I came through that and I overcame that addiction. And you know how I did it? By not putting responsibility on other people. I took it all myself and I did that work. Leah's charges are ridiculous. I was once an addict. I never expected other people to change their lives to accommodate my pain, to accommodate what I was going through. You can't do that. If you ever want to come through it, you need to take personal accountability, and you can't take personal accountability while you're busy blaming the rest of the world. Speaking of legal shiz, we've heard all week about Ryan going after Tamara and suing her, and not only suing her, but using Jim Bellino's attorney. I mean, how does it get more insane? And then we heard Kelly Dodd saying that she wanted to bring Vicky and Gretchen on and create a class action lawsuit against Tamara. But explain that to me. How does that happen? Because I've heard every single one of them say terrible things about Tamara, and quite frankly, sometimes worse. So, I mean, where do you draw the line? Speaking of Tamara and Eddie, it's time for reality check, and we're starting in the OC. But before we start, you guys, if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out right now and smash that subscribe button. If you're listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you give us a follow. Okay, now starting with Tamara. Every time I hear her talk, you guys, it always reminds me to ask you this. Do you guys hear the way Tamara says certain words like disgusting? Like Tamara doesn't say disgusting. She always pronounces a double E, like a hard E, disgusting or ridiculous. Do you guys hear that, or am I the only one? Make sure you leave me a comment and let me know if you hear the way Tamara always says that is disgusting. And now watch, you guys are going to hear it. Listen to Tamara and you will hear disgusting or ridiculous. The show opens this week in the shadow of the big blowout that happened last week at the dinner party. Tamara's in the car. Meanwhile, Eddie's still inside saying goodbye and apologizing for Tamara's bad behavior. Before Eddie leaves, Ryan stops him and says, "Hey, let's get past this." And Jen says, "Help me with her. Help me with her." Her being Tamara. After Eddie and Tamara leave, Katie comes back to the table and says Tamara is very upset. She looks at Ryan and said, "She wants me to ask you about the FBI." And Ryan says, "Oh gosh, that's interesting. One of my best friends has been going through something. She must be talking about Matt." Emily asks, "Do you like host people in Vegas?" And Ryan says, "Matt is one of my closest friends. I go with him to Vegas often." And Emily says, "And are you guys hosting?" And Ryan says, "I've never hosted anyone." And then he says, stumbling over every word, "Matt is a professional gambler. And he also has a bookie business. And his family has really been going through some stuff. They are very good friends of ours." In confessional, Emily says he goes to Vegas like it's his job. His career is going to Vegas. Then it's Shannon's 60th birthday, and she decides to spend it picking out patio furniture. Heather and Katie try to make it a celebration, but Shannon is not having it. She has a bare front porch, you guys, and she needs something to fill up that space. Shannon is very clear on what she wants and what she doesn't want. And what she doesn't want is anything that hides or harbors spiders, and quite frankly, I get it. They pop a squad on a cute couch, and Shannon dives into all the John drama. Shannon says that the sole purpose of them putting the lawsuit in the hands of the public is to hurt her and try to make her look bad. And Heather agrees. And then she goes on to note that when John broke up with her, he gave a statement about that too. And weird, right? If you break up with someone, you just move on. You don't need to give anyone a public statement, especially if you don't want to be a public person. Shannon says that she just wants to move on with her life. Then Katie goes on to tell the two of them about that wild dinner that went down at her house. Over at Gina's, Emily shows up and takes a ride on what looks like a stripper pole, but it was not a stripper pole. It was just a part of the kid's bed. The two of them start talking about that same party that Katie, Shannon, and Heather are talking about. And while Emily is saying that things got down and dirty at that party, Heather is saying, listen, not everyone needs to be friends. Both of the conversations are talking about how terrible Tamara's behavior was. Katie says that Tamara was very emotional and heightened. Meanwhile, Gina is worried that things are going to be awkward tomorrow at Shannon's tea party. Emily asks why there's still tension between her and Heather, and she goes on to say that the reason why there's still tension is because of the fact that I escorted you out of that party. I took you out of that bad situation, and she's pissed. Then they flash back to that big fight, and then they flash back to Heather asking Katie whose side she was on. And Heather says, she got aggressive with me. And Katie says, I think she just wanted you to see her. And then in confessional, Emily says, I just needed her to actually be a human and to understand that this is something that is psychologically triggering to me because of what I've been through. And Emily goes on to say that the constant commentary about her body has been really hurtful. Then we're at a men's clothing store with Emily, who's working with the Innocence Project, and she's there to get a guy named Anthony a new suit to help him assimilate back into daily life, which I think is such a noble and wonderful thing to be a part of. Then we go to Korean barbecue with Katie and her crew, and it's there that we learn that Katie has found her birth mother, you guys, in the same city where she was actually born. And I am so excited for her and to just watch that whole thing play out. I think Katie is turning out to be a great housewife. I think she is interesting. I think she is fun. I think this backstory is really compelling. I really am liking her. Then we're over at Emily's, and she's holding one of Shannon's birthday gifts, which happens to be a framed picture of Shannon that she took at Emily's boudoir shoot. And I gotta say, I thought it was a great picture. Shannon looked really good. Then it's time for the big party. Shannon's asked all the women to wear florals. Meanwhile, she shows up wearing all black and referring to herself as a spinster. Emily and Gina are the first to arrive, followed by Jen, who was followed by Heather, who straight away asked Emily if she could have a word with her. Emily says, now? And Heather goes, yeah, just real quick. And Emily says no. And then Katie walked in, and not 10 seconds later, Heather asked Emily, oh, come on, let's just talk. Can I just have a minute, please? So Emily stands up because she knows that Heather's not going to let this go, and the two of them walk away. They go and sit down, and Emily says, let me just start by telling you that I was really excited to be in your fashion shoot. And then she got choked up and said, listen, I'm probably going to cry because this is really triggering for me. And then she went on to explain to Heather all of the things that really hurt her that day. Then she says, and I know you didn't do it on purpose, but you need to understand my viewpoint and my psyche. I thought maybe you didn't see that I lost 40 pounds. And Heather goes, oh, this is so crazy because you know that I think that you look amazing. I tell you all the time. So logically, she knows that Heather didn't intentionally try to hurt her, but that string of well-intentioned events still really struck a nerve. And that is exactly why I always say, until you heal the wound, that wound will continue to win, and you will continue to be triggered by events that really shouldn't be triggering you. Until you heal that wound, you will be the prisoner of that wound and unable to truly find your own personal freedom. Back at the main table, Tamara apologizes to Jen for what went down at that dinner party. Jen doesn't receive it well, but she does receive it, and the two of them agree to talk at a later time. Heather and Emily wrap things up with Heather reminding Emily that they really are friends and tells her that if something like this comes up again, to please come to her instead of just stewing on it. The two of them return to the table just as Shannon is showing up. Shannon passes out the gift boxes and tells everyone to open their gift. And as everyone's taking it out and realizing that the gift is actually tea, Shannon rips open her spinster outfit to reveal a sparkly Union Jack and announces that she's taking everyone on a trip to jolly old England, London to be exact. And God, I love London. I don't love the weather. I hate the weather. Every time I've been to London, it has been the coldest experience of my life. But aside from that, I love it. I love London. Then Heather passes Shannon a bag, and not just any bag, but an Hermes bag with some beautiful sliders inside. Then just as the ladies toast to Shannon, another gift arrives. A beautiful bouquet that included an olive branch with a written note from Alexis Bellino. And the note read, Dear Shannon, happy 60th birthday. I genuinely hope this olive branch can bring us a fresh start. As you begin this new decade, may God bless you with happiness and good health on your milestone. Shannon reads this note to the women and then goes on to tell them that it came 8 weeks too late and that she knows that Alexis is being coached. Then Shannon goes on to say, listen, I know you guys all saw what came out in the press on Friday, even after I offered him everything he asked for. Then to camera, Shannon says, shaking, issuing a press release about this lawsuit. John's just trying to smear me because he's this good guy and I'm not paying him back. And then Emily, with perfect timing, interrupts and says, but the question is, are you going to send her a thank you note? And then Shannon comes back with, well, actually, I already did write her a note. It goes like this. Hello, Alexis. This is Shannon Bedore. I'm hosting a trip to Europe with my girlfriends, and I just want to make it clear that you are not invited. All the women lose their shit, and they cannot believe what they just heard. They asked Shannon to soften it up, say, maybe you need to take out a few words. Here, let's edit it. And Shannon's like, no way, I'm not going to edit it. Then Jen and Katie get a harebrained idea and think that maybe it would be better coming from them. They think that they could soften the blow and deliver it in a way to Alexis that would make her more receptive. And Shannon goes, listen, if you guys want to tell her, then go ahead and tell her. And so they did. And the next day we're with Jen and Katie while they go over to see Alexis, who is very excited to see them. And the fact that she's in such good mood makes the girls hopeful that this whole thing is going to go well. Alexis has cheese and crackers ready to go, and they take them and sit down, and they're not talking for more than 2 minutes before she goes, so, did you guys see those beautiful flowers I sent? And Jen and Katie both go, oh yes, the flowers, they were so beautiful. And Alexis goes, great, so are we moving forward? And Katie goes, no. And Alexis goes, why? And they tell her, Shannon says that you should have done this weeks ago. And Alexis screams again, hold on. Why? I'm extending an olive branch. I still get shit on. Then Katie tells her that Shannon actually sent a text message and she should probably check her phone. So Alexis goes upstairs to get her phone from Johnny J, who was apparently lurking up there and no one knew about it. She comes back down with the phone and she reads the message. And the message went like this. Hello, Alexis. This is Shannon Bedore. I am hosting a trip to Europe with my girlfriends and just wanted to make it clear that you are not invited. That should be quite understandable given these circumstances. Thank you for the flowers, but I am not interested in any olive branch. And Alexis goes, I've tried it all. I'm fucking done. What is she so hung up on? And they both say, the lawsuit. And Alexis says, well, her actions caused this. If she wouldn't have borrowed the money or if she would have paid the money back, then we wouldn't be here. Then Johnny J makes his big appearance next to Alexis in confessional. And I have never seen two people look more awkward. Firstly, I can't get over the fact that they both look so much like birds to me. I can't really decide which kind of birds, but they're both part of that bird family. They both look so much like birds, it was tripping me out. John goes on to say that he didn't want to take legal actions, but his hands were tied. But it's such absolute bullshit, you know, because they were talking about the fact that he didn't want to sign that non-disparagement agreement because he didn't want Shannon to go on the show and say all kinds of things about him. But the fact that that thing was a mutual non-disparagement agreement would have protected both of them. So he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Alexis tells Jen and Katie that now this is a legal battle. And they ask her, how did this happen? Was it you and John that took that to them? And very awkwardly, Alexis says, here's what happened. John said 70. She said, sure, but you have to have a muzzle on. And that's not going to happen. We're not putting a muzzle on John. Then the producers ask Jen if she thinks that Alexis actually leaked the story. And Jen says, no, while shaking her head, yes. The producers say, isn't it weird that she's getting so upset? And Jen says, stop it, go to what's next. And then Katie says, well, I know that she has a good relationship with some of the people at People. Then Alexis goes full drama and says, you know what? I won't be around this group. And Katie and Jen come back and say, that's not fair, don't do that. We love having you around. And Alexis says, no, that's it, I'm done. This is unbelievable. And Katie goes, we don't want you to be done. And at that moment, Alexis stands up, walks over to her front door, opens it, and just looks at the two girls. Meanwhile, the girls don't even really know what's happening for a split second. And then it dawns on them that they're actually being kicked out of the house. And at that moment, Alexis goes and motions them like she's motioning an airplane. And so the two of them get up and hightail it out of her house. And I just thought it was hilarious that she's kicking her two supportive friends out of her house instead of the entire camera crew. Of course, she's not going to kick the camera crew out because she wants them to get footage of her walking up the stairs crying and falling into Johnny J's arms, which is exactly what happened. Meanwhile, Katie and Jen are still on the front porch wondering what the hell just happened. And Jen goes, I've never been kicked out of anywhere in my life. And then she goes, wait a minute, that's not true. I was just evicted. And I cannot wait to see where we go from here. I'm telling you, you guys, I really do not think that John and Alexis are going to be together for all that much longer. I really don't. I think this relationship is on its way out already. And quite frankly, they can both leave and I will be fine. I have had enough of both of them. What about you? I want to know, do you guys want to see more of Alexis next season? I mean, are you yearning for the Alexis and John wedding special? Because I'm not. Okay, and now we are in New York. New York is back, everybody. The concrete jungle where dreams are made of. So the season looks juicy, you guys. Let's start with these taglines. Bryn's is, why be their dad when you can just be mother? Aaron, in the cocktail of life, a New Yorker is neither shaken nor stirred. Raquel, just like a painting, you need a couple of looks to figure me out. Sai says, I may be hungry, but at least I'm not thirsty. Jessel says, I'm not up and coming. I am already there. Uba says, love looks good on me, but darling, what doesn't? Jenna says, not everyone can be Jenna fucking Lyons, but they can try. And the show opens at Bryn's house, her new house in Gramercy Park. She needed more space because she's expanding her family with a puppy, a cute little puppy. Her brother Darius comes to visit from Seoul for a month. Darius isn't there for 5 minutes before Bryn tells him that her inspiration for her new place was balls in your face. Then we're with Jessel and Pavitt, who I have to say are cracking me up. I mean, their new dynamic, whatever it is hilarious, and I am here for it. He's dragging her bougie ass down to the subway and to that delicious little hole in the wall that I don't know where it was, but it didn't look like her vibe. And not only that, but then he hands her his phone and says, make sure you get some content of me walking in. Meanwhile, she's sitting there thinking that she married an investment banker, but now she's holding a camera for a food influencer. It is absolutely hilarious, but it is clear that he is out of touch with her needs in their marriage, because she goes on to say that she got him a massage for Valentine's Day and he didn't even get her a card. And clearly Valentine's Day has passed and he goes, oh, I'll get you one. I mean, I'll get you one. Like, you don't get a Valentine's Day card for something after Valentine's Day has already passed, Pavitt. Then Jessel reminds him that they're still paying big bucks to keep their embryos on ice here in LA, but Pavitt seems resistant to having more babies. Jessel really wants to have a little girl, and they have one on ice, ready and waiting to go, but Pavitt isn't into it. He's not ready. He says he doesn't want to do it, at least not now, and Jessel is definitely bummed about it. Then Uba meets up with Aaron for lunch. The two of them are clearly thick as thieves right now. Uba talks about her new boyfriend, who's not so new anymore, and the fact that the two of them are actually thinking about having a baby together. Then they're joined by Rebecca Minkoff, who is the new girl who's associated with Scientology. So I'm very interested to see how much of her true personality we see. That's going to be really interesting. The two of them invite Rebecca to Bryn's party, and Erin makes it clear that she still has a little beef going with Bryn, who across town is meeting up with Jenna and Jessel to pick out a kitchen table. She's invited Jenna for her taste and Jessel for her jokes. The three of them sit down together, and as they do, Jenna realizes that she has BO. And as soon as she says it, Bryn bombs her nose into her armpit so she can get a good whiff. And I'm telling you, I have known people like this in my life, and I've never understood it. If someone tells me that they have BO, the last thing I'm doing is going in for a closer sniff. Sorry. The three of them weren't sitting down for 2 minutes before Bryn brings up what Aaron said on the Jeff Lewis podcast. On the podcast, Jeff asked Aaron where Bryn's money was coming from and if she thought someone was helping Bryn financially. Bryn was hurt by the insinuation that her money came from suspect sources and felt betrayed that Aaron didn't defend her more. Back at the lunch table, Aaron is telling them about a night at Jenna's, and how at the end of the night, Jenna confronted Aaron about things that she had heard from Bryn, because apparently Bryn told Jenna that Aaron called her poor. And here's the backstory according to Jessel. Apparently Jenna and Aaron went to lunch out in the Hamptons, and they drove Jenna's hoopty car. The hoopty car broke down, and they ended up needing to call an Uber. Well, Aaron paid for the Uber, which was $250, and Jenna never reimbursed her. This upset Aaron, and I guess when she was explaining the situation and what went down to everybody else, you know, imagine she's telling the story, and then she says, and it was $250, and someone says, well, I'm sure she paid you back. No, well, I don't know. Maybe she's having money troubles. But you know, she wasn't really saying, hey, you guys, I think Jenna has money problems. It was just more of a throwaway to try and just add color and flavor to her story. Then Cy and Jessel go for a cold plunge at 37 degrees. And after they plunge, they run to the sauna, where Cy tells Jessel that she's been on a Zen journey after seeing her behavior last year. Cy said that she got herself a shrink, and she's really been working on herself since last season. Jessel brings up Bryn, and Cy says that the two of them haven't really talked. Cy said that she tried to apologize to Bryn, but Bryn wouldn't accept the apology, but that she's still going to the party because she likes Bryn's brother and she's hoping that they can move past things. And then we're in Jenna's gorgeous loft, where she is going through her shoes, or as she calls it, editing them. She's there with her mother-in-law, and they're going through the most amazing shoe collection you've ever seen. My God. And then they're joined by Raquel, who was the other new girl, who was also a later in life lesbian, just like Jenna. She was previously married and had kids, but now is madly in love and engaged to a woman named Mel. Then we go to Serendipity with Aaron and Abe and their kids, and it's there that we learn that Aaron's mom has breast cancer, and the fact that they're house hunting because they need a bigger house. Erin goes on to say that she's actually found one, and she thinks that it's time for him to look at it. She goes on to tell him that there's an incredible mural in one room where there's cherubs and all kinds of crazy stuff on the ceiling. And Abe says, sounds like a great place to take mushrooms. And Erin goes, stop, you can't say that. Abe says, what? And Erin says, why do you have to go there? And he goes, sorry, you don't say those things. And she goes, no. And then they flash back to last season when she's out at her Hamptons house talking about how she loves that house because it's such a great place to trip. Abe says, okay, cool. And then she goes, why are you being so rude to me right now? And he says, I don't like when my words are being controlled. She says, what? And he says, you criticize the words that I'm saying. And she says, well, you shouldn't be talking about what you're talking about. What's wrong with you saying stuff like that? What's wrong with you? Are you dumb? And he goes, I was making a joke. And she says, it's not funny. And then in confessional, Aaron says, it's one thing to talk like that with your friends. It's another to say it on camera. Like stupid. And then Abe walks away to go get the kids. And in his own confessional says, I really don't think Aaron is irritated about my mushroom joke. There's other stuff underlying. Then they cut back to Aaron, who looks in the camera and calmly says, I'm not going there. I don't know that I'm ready to talk about all the stuff that's going on between Abe and I. And clearly there's a lot. Then we're at Raquel's where we meet Mel and her engagement ring. And while beautiful, I just can't imagine very practical. Then it's time for the little party that Brynn has planned. Her and her brother arrive first, followed by Jenna, who really was wearing a dress that looked like a vagina. And no, I can't unsee it either. The rest of the ladies trickle in, and while Brynn and Jessel walk to the bar to get a drink, Jessel asks Brynn if she got a text from Aaron. Brynn says no, and Jessel goes on to tell her that she got a text from Aaron saying that she was so disappointed. Back at the table, Sai addresses with Jenna the fact that she never said that she hated her. What she said was that she didn't like her. And at this point, half of the room is blaming Brynn for stirring up shit, and the other half is blaming Aaron, which just feels like a repeat of last season, honestly. Then Jessel asked Aaron what was up with that crazy text and told her she wants to talk about it. So then they got into it. Again, they go back and forth about who said what. Aaron says that there's a manipulator in the group and that the manipulator is Brynn. She says that Brynn makes shit up, and that's just what she's doing with this story. The same way she did last season with the cheese. Then Aaron calls Jenna over to talk about it some more, and Aaron launches into her whole, I'm a good person, I have 3 kids, I have integrity, I don't make up stories, I was telling a funny story, period. And then Brynn walks up, and just as Brynn goes to sit down, Aaron gives an audible buffalo breath with an eye roll. And Brynn whips her head and says, what? And then the dialogue begins again. And Brynn brings up everything that happened at Jeff Lewis. They go back and forth about being accused of being a sugar baby. Side of camera says, I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with being a sugar baby. I was one once. And Jessel pipes up with, hey, listen, if I wasn't married with kids, I'd be one right now. Aaron and Brynn are still going at it when Sai pipes up and accuses Brynn of being the one who made Jenna's party feel so awkward. But Brynn fires back with, the reason why it felt so awkward is because you called her husband a name. And she's talking about Jessel's husband, Pavitt. Then Brynn turns to the cameras and reads the exact text that Sai sent Jessel. And it read, fuck you, Jessel, and your Dory from Finding Nemo husband too. And now I can't unsee that. Then Sai calls Brynn a gaslighting narcissist and tells her that she's unwell. Then she stands up and starts with the old, not today, Satan, not today. Not today, Satan. Then they cut to Sai, who says that all that money she spent on all that therapy just went down the drain. And that is episode 1 of season 2 of the new New York Housewives. Woo! Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, we all heard about Karen Huger's DUI that happened last March, and that's exactly how they opened the season premiere of Potomac, with a dramatic reenactment, followed by a very fresh-faced Giselle going to pick up Miss Karen to take her to breakfast. Giselle is trying to touch bases and be a supportive friend to the grande dame. Giselle says that she was truly in shock when she heard the news, and not only was she shocked by the DUI, but by her unregistered driver's license, her unregistered car, all of it. Ashley Darby says that she too was shocked, especially given the fact that this is not Karen's first offense. Once Karen gets in the car, Giselle tells her that she's going to try to avoid the crash site because she doesn't want to trigger her. And then only a minute later, they see a deer in the road, which still triggers Karen because according to Karen, a deer was involved in that accident. And that was part of the reason why she crashed. They head to Karen's favorite breakfast joint where they both order the Karen special. Once they sit down, Giselle opens up and tells her just how much she's been concerned because she knows that behavior like this is out of character for her friend, the grande dame. But I'm wondering, is it really? Karen says that things have been rough in a lot of ways and that things between her and Ray have not been great at all. Then Giselle brings up her birthday, which is coming up quickly, so the two of them put together a guest list, and they catch up on what's happening with their crew. Giselle tells her that Ashley's been good, They talk about Mia and her dudes, both of them, and agree that Mia seems happy. And then we're with Mia and Gordon and their kids, at least we think they're his kids. The four of them sit down for a sweet treat, and Mia tells us that Gordon has moved into her building and that the new arrangement is going well. They talk about their previous relationship, and Gordon says, I don't think you really tried everything, but I do know that I was mean to you. I get that. Then Mia brings up the fact that Ink wants a paternity test, and Gordon hates the idea. Mia thinks that Ink is entitled to know and tells Gordon that even if he doesn't like it, he's able to go through the court system. Then Ashley goes to meet with her divorce attorney. She's finally ready to proceed with her divorce process. She is revved up and wants to test drive some dudes. Then Dr. Wendy hangs up her professor's hat, and she is stressed out about it, you guys, because she knows that her mother will definitely be pressed about it and have more than a little something to say. Wendy hits send on the email and is in a low-key state of shock that she actually pulled the trigger without her mom's support. Wendy knows she's going to get blowback about this, and it won't be a little bit. Then we go dress shopping with the Grand Dame, and it's at the dress shop that we meet Karen's two friends, Vivian and Stacy. Vivian owns the boutique, and Stacy recently moved back from Philly, where she worked for QVC. While they're trying on gowns, Karen notices that Stacy's missing a diamond ring, and Stacy confesses that she's actually been separated for a year and that they're going through a divorce right now. Then the girls break out champagne, and it's only after it's poured that they wondered if that's going to be an uncomfortable situation for Karen. Karen says absolutely not. The only reason why she's drinking water is because of the medication she's taking, and she promises the girls that she will be drinking with them again very soon. Then it's time for the Hatitude party that Giselle is throwing for the Grand Dame, and Ashley shows up with a bounce back gift, which I thought was hilarious, with like a water bottle and a bunch of Uber cards. The women all arrive. Mia's former best friend Jacqueline shows up, followed by Mia and her new best friend Jazzy. The old friend and the new friend make nice while Mia looks on. Then Wendy arrives, and while they're all making small talk and wondering where Karen is, Jacqueline says that Karen actually called her, and Mia chimes in and says, yeah, but you said that when she called you, she was drunk, so that really doesn't count. Then the Grand Dame does arrive, decked out in full cowboy Carter gear, but hello, Karen, this ain't Texas, sweetie. Then Giselle presents the birthday girl with a drink list. You've got the Surrey County, the 61, and a non-alcoholic Grand Dame, which of course Karen thought was a very messy move, but what's wrong with a non-alcoholic option, Karen? And then it's time for the presentation of the hats, because this is a hatitude party, you guys. Karen gets hers first, and hers is called the Hollywood. And as Giselle places Karen's hat on her head, she told her that some of the women had asked her questions about Karen. And as Giselle places the hat on her head, she says, Karen, some of the women were asking me questions, but I told them they should just refer those questions to you. And Karen says, absolutely. If you have any questions, ask me. And after a very pregnant pause, Jacqueline speaks up and says, oh, Karen, listen, no judgment. We're just really glad that you're okay and that everyone was okay and that no one was hurt. And we're just really grateful for that, and no judgment. And Karen says, look, I'm not worried about judgment. This is my thing. This is really an opportunity for you to decide if you're on Team Karen, because I'm just trying to figure out who my real friends are. I just want to see who the real soldiers for Karen Huger are, because I definitely don't want any fake bitches around me. And Ashley looks into the camera and says, this is so Karen. Then Giselle presents Ashley with her hat, the cowboy, because Ashley took everyone to Texas last year. And while she's presenting the hat, the two of them announce their G&A Fusion launch, which, who knows? G&A is their athleisure wear. I'm not sure what they're fusing, but we'll see. Then Mia gets the king hat because according to Giselle, she's pimping two men right now. Giselle says she's looking forward to meeting her man, Ink, but then Karen asks about G, and Mia says that her and Ink are now doing Gordon's laundry together, and all the women were so weirded out by it. Jacqueline pipes up and says, I think Ink is really good for Mia, and that her and G were more just of a business partnership. Giselle asks, did G know that it was a business partnership? And Jacqueline says, I think they both knew that. Karen says, Mia, come on, it's got to be more than business. I mean, you gave birth. And then she says, I feel a certain way about G. And when G shared with the world that your children have seen you with another man, and the fact that your kids and your business were plastered all over the place, I mean, it really bothered me. Mia snaps back, "You think that didn't bother me, Karen? Let me tell you, I'm not the one that did that. G did that. I didn't do that. He did." Then Mia screams, "You guys don't know what I was going through last year. Only she knows," and she points to Jacqueline. Voices are raising, tears are flowing, and Mia stands up and says, "I gotta go." And Mia rushes to the bathroom crying with both of her best friends in tow. And that, my friends, is episode 1. And I am so excited to see where this goes. I am so excited to have Potomac back. Rounding out our 4-show recap is Salt Lake City. This week, Salt Lake City took Milwaukee, and I have to say, I got an education. Because if Milwaukee is really how you say Milwaukee, then I'm gonna have to reprogram that. I'm into it. As all the ladies are getting ready for their big trip, Mary calls Whitney and tells her that she's definitely going on the trip, but not on the private plane that Whitney's arranged. Over at Angie's house, she's packing her entire Greek wardrobe and really stressing out about the fact that she has information that she's not sure how to share. Angie's really stressing out about whether or not to tell Brittany that her brow girl is getting inappropriate text messages and DMs from Brittany's supposed boyfriend, Jared Osmond. Finally, all the women arrive to a very windy Provo airport. All the women, that is, except Mary. Whitney says she wasn't sure that Meredith was coming until a few days earlier when she got a text from her that said that she was moving things around so she could make the trip. All the ladies land in Milwaukee, and when they do, Mary tells us that her father lived here and so close to Jeffrey Dahmer's house that he could actually smell the stench of his victims. And I mean, do we believe her? I mean, it's possible. The women check out their digs and then they sit down for a snack. And at the table, Angie asks Maylee a question. And this is Maylee, the really pretty girl that we've hardly heard a word from. I feel like this is the first time that we've actually heard her voice. Then Brittany asks Lisa how Jack is doing. And Lisa breaks down talking about the fact that Jack has been really sick while he's been away and that he's told his mom that he wants to handle this alone. And honestly, as a mother, I cannot imagine how hard that is. Brutal. Then Whitney announces that tonight she's taking everyone to the Bucks game, which gets Angie's juices flowing. She puts on her Greek shades and says, "There's more than one Greek freak in Milwaukee today." And then Whitney says, "And until then, everybody, you can either come with me to the Bobblehead Museum or you can go with Heather to the casino." And while the girls are all getting ready, Mary takes a call from her son that ended up costing her $60. At the same time, Brittany is making a call that ended up just costing her a little bit of her dignity. Because once again, we see her boyfriend not pick up her FaceTime. Angie goes to Bronwyn's room while she's getting her makeup done, and the two of them dive into the conversation that happened at the ropes course. Bronwyn says, "Yes, I'm upset with Heather, but I'm really furious with Lisa for not stopping that narrative in its tracks." Then the Buzz and cousins get together for a quick catch-up, and Whitney tells Heather that she asked Meredith to bring her caviar, and that Meredith said she was already planning to. Whitney asks her how things are going with Bronwyn, and Heather says that she's been testing the waters a little bit, but repeats the fact that she heard two completely different things come out of Bronwyn's mouth, and goes on to say that she thinks Bronwyn plays to whoever is standing in front of her at the time. Then Heather, Meredith, Lisa, Angie, and Brittany all go gambling. And side note, that is the group that I would have gone with, but I want to know what group you would have gone with. Would you have gone to the casino or would you have gone to the Bobblehead Museum? Let me know in the comments. Over at the Bobblehead Museum, you have Whitney, Mary, Bronwyn, and May Lee. They walk up the stairs and see 10,000 bobbleheads, which truthfully would have made me run. And Bronwyn says, "Ooh, this is everything." And I just thought, is it really? They go on a bobblehead scavenger hunt, which to me is the only way you can really make that fun. While they're looking at the Golden Girls bobbleheads, Mary makes a comment about one of them still getting their period. And then she says, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that." It's so hilarious. She can't believe that she just said something about a period, but she can tell someone that they are a bobblehead or they look like a bobblehead or they look inbred, but she's freaked out about anything that has to do with the period. She is such a wild one, that Mary. She just can't believe what she said. And once again, Mary Cosby is the life of the party. And I'm not exactly sure what is happening with Mary Cosby this season. I just know I am here for it. Back at the casino, Brittany is obsessively checking her phone, looking for a call back from the boyfriend that dodged her call earlier. Lisa clocks her obsession and says, "Put your phone away." And she says, "We're over Jared." Then Brittany hands Lisa the phone and says, "Here, read this." So Lisa does. And the text from Jared said, I didn't see that you called. I don't know why I missed your call. And Lisa asks, can I text him back? Which is exactly what I would have done, what I have done, what I think I may have done last week. Brittany says, go ahead. And Lisa texts, hey, sorry, having the best time with the girls. I'm not sure what time we'll be in tonight. So I guess we'll chat probably tomorrow. Thanks. Then Heather and Meredith step away to buy some tequila shots. And while they're at the bar, Heather brings up Whitney and the caviar request being an actual olive branch. Meredith says that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but then again, not a lot of things are making sense lately. And then she goes on to tell Heather that Whitney has been using designs off Alibaba and selling them at 10 to 20 times the price. Heather is shocked completely and calls this the kiss of death for retail and says this is very damaging and that somebody must be out to get Whitney. Then Heather asks Meredith if she's going to reach out to Whitney and offer support. And Meredith says, well, I don't know if that's my place. Heather says, well, listen, if this is happening, I think you need to bring it up. Not to expose her or condemn her, but to say, hey, I know this is really hard to navigate. And if we're friends, I should be able to offer my support. And Meredith is so hesitant. I mean, she is just ridiculously hesitant. And it is just so clear at this point that Meredith only wants to fan the flame. She's not there trying to be part of any type of solution. Then we're on our way to the game, and in the car ride, we learn that Bronwyn's husband is so old, you guys, that he has gout, and she cannot believe that she is having sex with someone that has gout. And I just have to say that I have gout, but only sometimes. The girls all get to the game and Angie is geared up, you guys. I mean, she's basically wearing a flag. The girls see the players and fully fan out. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. Can I get a picture? Then the ladies make their way up to the suite. And once they're up there, Angie says, I'm going to go to the bathroom, Mary. Do you want to go with me? And Mary goes, no, I don't use public restrooms. And she goes, okay. Then Mary says, I always use a tampon and it holds it. Angie goes, is that real? Mary says, I promise. Get a tampon. You will not have to pee the whole time. Then in confessional, Mary looks into the camera, you guys, and says, it's worked for me for years. If you're going to be out long and you have errands to run, you just insert that bad boy up there. Make sure it's the super size though. It can't be medium or small. And if you didn't see this with your own eyes, I know you would think I'm making this up, but I swear to God, you guys, this is exactly what she said. It was nuts. And then while Angie and Bronwyn are sitting above Brittany, Brittany decides to try to call Jared again. And Angie is telling Bronwyn all about the brow girl and the fact that Jared is coming on so strong in the DMs. Bronwyn tells her, I'd want you to tell me. And Angie's up above looking at Jared's face and she's going, I know what you're doing, Jared. I know what you're up to. And somehow Brittany got wind of what was being said behind her and turns around and says, is this about me? And Angie says, kind of. I'm really uncomfortable with this, but I feel like I'd be a bad woman and a bad friend if I didn't tell you. And then she proceeds to tell her about the brow girl and the DMs and the inappropriate text messaging. Brittany says, when was this? And Angie says, 2 weeks ago. Brittany excuses herself and heads to the bathroom where she runs into Meredith, who ends up actually giving her some really sage advice. She tells her, maybe you need to take a little time for yourself and maybe date some other dudes. Meanwhile, back in the suite, Whitney is being propositioned by the guy in the next suite, and he's given her $100 to sweeten the pot. Heather is busy having her first lobster corn dog, and Mary is busy giving Angie a dance lesson. And once again, I'm still not sure what's happening with Mary, but quite frankly, I could watch Mary give dance lessons all day. Then Lisa asked Bronwyn how it's going, and the whole Maylee being blacklisted from Nordstrom issue came up. Once again, Maylee is that beautiful girl that we've really only heard 3 words from at this point. But things quickly change because a minute later, Maylee pipes up and says, I have a question, Lisa. An hour ago, Bronwyn told me to ask you how you feel about my outfits. Lisa says, listen, Maylee, it was just a snarky comment. It wasn't that deep. Then Bronwyn chimes in and says, well, Lisa, it feels like it's a snarky comment if you make it. But when I make it, it's a different story. So if you guys can get into a mess and make a snarky comment, then I need to be able to get into a mess and make a snarky comment. And that includes Heather. So now Heather gets pulled in. And Heather says, listen, I didn't mean to put you on blast. And Bronwyn says, well, you did. You did put me on blast. And we need to get correct on how we're going to have a friendship. And Heather in Confessional says, we need to get correct on how we're going to have a friendship. I'm not falling for that. Then Heather and Bronwyn go back and forth and back and forth. And then they cut to Bronwyn saying, you know, it's really interesting to me that no one wants to know that we are all doing this. I'm not the only one. Everyone here is talking about everyone else. It's not going to stop until we all realize that. I'm not the root of the problem. I'm just the best dressed of the problem. And to that, I will say you are a lot of things, Bronwyn, but best dressed is not one of them. That doesn't mean you won't be one day, but it's not today. Okay, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. We have never recapped 4 shows, you guys. This was definitely a supersized episode, but I have loved spending this time with you guys. If you'd like to reach me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking, or on Instagram at @JenniferSnook. If you would like to collaborate or have a question that you'd like answered on the pod, you can email me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. If you'd like to get your hands on some of this adorable Generally Speaking merch that says Stay Rooted in Love on the back, I will leave the link down below. If you've been watching us on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you give us a follow. Please make sure you give us a 5-star rating. We would love that. Tell your family, tell your friends, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until we are together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. Have a great one.